Have you ever wondered what the world looked like before the Great Flood? An event that changed the course of humanity in an instant. Let's dive into the story of life before the flood and its meaning. The world back then was not just a story, but an astonishing reality. So what was life really like before the flood? Let's find out. The Bible tells us that before the Great Flood, the world was filled with sin and violence. But there were also moments of beauty, civilization, and hope. People built lives, raised families, and sought meaning. The pre-flood world was not just wild, it was advanced. But humanity's downfall led to a warning from God. Noah stood up, pleading for change, but few listened. Instead of listening, they mocked him and ignored the warning. And then, God commanded preparations for the unthinkable. A great flood was about to change the world forever. Let's continue as we explore more about the world before the flood. The pre-flood world had an astonishingly advanced civilization. They knew metalworking, construction, and created things beyond imagination. But they didn't use their creativity for good. Violence and greed consumed their hearts. They even turned away from the Creator, worshiping idols. The rich grew selfish, and the poor were left in suffering. But not everyone was lost. Some still remained faithful to God. Among them was Noah, who obeyed God and began building a massive ark. Even when mocked and disbelieved, Noah continued his work. He believed God had a plan, and his task was to obey. Then, a miracle happened. Animals from everywhere came to the ark. Noah's family prepared for the journey, bringing pairs of animals aboard. The skies darkened, signaling the approaching wrath. As the ark's doors closed, the outside world remained unchanged. People laughed and lived as if tomorrow would come as usual. But then the rains began, and everything changed. The waters rose, and panic swept everywhere. They fled to higher ground, but nowhere was safe. Inside the ark, Noah and his family quietly waited for what would come next. The storm grew fiercer, but the ark remained steady under God's guidance. After many days, Noah released a dove to find signs of life. When the dove returned with an olive branch, they knew hope remained. Finally, the waters receded and a new world emerged. The ark came to rest on Mount Ararat, marking a new chapter for humanity. God made a covenant with humanity, a promise symbolized by the rainbow. The animals aboard endured the long journey through the storm. Noah's family kept praying, trusting in God's protection. Meanwhile, outside, the waters continued to rise endlessly. Those outside tried to survive, but it was already too late. The ark drifted across a vast sea with no sign of land. Despite the challenges, they encouraged one another to endure. Days turned into weeks, but the rain didn't stop. When the second dove didn't return, they knew land was near. Finally, the sun broke through, and the waters began to recede. The ark finally rested on Mount Ararat. Noah stepped out, seeing a new world completely transformed. His family and the animals stepped out, starting a new chapter. Noah built an altar, thanking God for his protection. God made a covenant with humanity. There would never be another flood like this. They began rebuilding, planting seeds and tending the new land. The world gradually returned to life, with creatures thriving. They continued living, always remembering God's covenant. And from then on, humanity was reminded of God's power and love. This is the story of life before and after the Great Flood. A world forever changed, but still full of hope. We are reminded that, in every difficulty, God always has a plan. And we are part of that story. carrying the hope forward. Let this story remind us of patience, faith, and loyalty. What can we learn from Noah's story? Let's discuss. Life goes on, and hope remains forever. After long months of waiting, Noah's family finally saw the light. The doors opened, and fresh air poured into the ark. The sun rose, illuminating a hopeful new world. Noah, his family, and the animals stepped out to start anew. They built an altar, offering thanks to God for their safety. The smoke rose, and God sent a rainbow as a sign of his covenant. The rainbow was not just a promise, but also a symbol of hope. The animals spread across the land, bringing new life. Noah's family planted seeds, built homes, and rebuilt life from scratch. The new world slowly revived, full of life and hope. Noah told their story, reminding his children of God's power and mercy. The next generation learned to live and uphold God's covenant. The floodwaters receded, and fresh streams brought life to the land. They shared memories, thanking God for a new chance. Under the starry sky, they committed to live according to God's will. The new world was full of potential, offering a chance to rebuild. The rainbow reminded them that God would never do this again. The dove became a symbol of peace and new beginnings. Noah and his family walked with the belief that God was always with them. And so, a new chapter for humanity began, under God's protection. The story reaches its climax as the heavy rains continue to pour. Everything on land was swept away. Nothing could withstand the flood's power. People fled to higher ground, but even the mountains couldn't save them. It was a tragic scene, as humanity's pride faced God's power. But amidst the raging waves, the ark stayed firm under God's guidance. Inside the ark, Noah and his family kept praying and trusting in God's plan. A loud thunderclap echoed, as if to declare the judgment complete. The floodwaters covered everything, even the highest mountains. Finally, after 40 days and nights of heavy rain, the storm began to calm. The sun rose, shining over the vast waters covering the earth. The ark drifted, waiting for a sign from God. Noah sent out a raven to search for dry land, but it didn't return. Then he sent out a dove, but it also found nowhere to land. The dove returned empty-handed, and Noah's family kept waiting. The waters began to recede, little by little, revealing mountaintops. Finally, the ark came to rest on Mount Ararat, a safe haven. Noah sent out the dove again, and this time it returned with an olive branch. It was a clear sign that life had begun to return. After many days of waiting, Noah's family prepared to step out into the new land. The ark's doors opened, and brilliant light shone inside. They stepped onto dry land, thanking God for his protection. They built an altar, offering prayers of gratitude to God. The smoke rose, a symbol of devotion and faithfulness. God sent a rainbow as a sign of his covenant with humanity. The rainbow reminded them that God would never destroy the world with a flood again. The new world began to thrive, with life blossoming across the land. Noah's family began rebuilding life on the new land. Future generations learned to live in harmony, remembering God's covenant. The land became fertile, yielding abundant harvests for all. Noah shared the story of God's judgment and mercy as a valuable lesson. This story is not just about destruction, but about hope and renewal. They continued to live with gratitude and deep faith in God's plan. This was not just an end, but the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. From the ashes of the great flood, a new world was born. And from then on, God's covenant became a guiding light for all of us. Noah looked up to the heavens, believing that God would always be with humanity. This story reminds us that even in hardship, there is always hope, and that God always has a beautiful plan for us. Always remember this story, for it is a reminder of faith and loyalty. This world under God's hand can always begin anew. The fresh waters flowed through the land, bringing life and hope. Birds flew across the clear skies, symbols of peace and renewal. The animals found a new home and began the journey of life again. Noah's family built a new home, laying the foundation for future generations. Noah prayed with his family, thanking God for humanity's second chance. The sunlight shone brightly, bringing hope and peace. The family celebrated with a meal, symbolizing a new beginning. They embraced, full of faith, that God would always be with them. The olive branch became a symbol of hope, offered to God by Noah. The brilliant rainbow was a clear sign that God kept his promise. Noah felt that their journey had been divinely planned by God. The new world was a chance to start over, with strong faith in God. They worked together, building a future with love and unity. Noah's story became a powerful reminder of patience and loyalty. We learned that even in adversity, God always has a beautiful plan. They shared the story with one another, reminding of God's power and love. The warm fire symbolized faith and God's guidance. Noah's story ends, but its lessons live on forever. They looked forward together, ready for a promising future. The dove flew far, carrying the message of peace and faith. The sun rose, affirming that each day is a new opportunity. Noah felt that their journey had been blessed by God, and this new world under God's hand can always begin anew. This was not just an end, but a beginning of a new journey. God's covenant remains the guiding light in our lives. With deep faith, they began their new journey with God. The waters flowed, trees grew, and the world began to thrive. All creatures lived in harmony, under the care of the Creator. The olive tree stood tall, a symbol of resilience and eternal life. And under the stars, they reminded themselves that God always has a plan for humanity. This story is not just about Noah, but about all of us. After the flood, Noah's family began rebuilding from scratch. The land became fertile, seeds were planted, and life began to sprout. They cared for the animals, restoring the balance of nature. Each day was a new beginning, filled with hope and purpose. They never forgot to thank God daily for guiding them through adversity. The rainbow in the sky was a reminder of God's covenant. The olive branch, a symbol of peace, now stood as a symbol of renewal. All creatures began to multiply, filling the earth with new life. They shared their story, reminding one another of God's mercy. The clear waters brought life, helping the land to recover. They planted trees, built gardens, and cared for everything with love. Animals found a safe place to live and thrive. The next generation grew up with hope and strong faith in God. Under the starry sky, they reflected on their journey and felt God's guidance. The trees grew tall, symbolizing vitality and faithfulness to the Creator. Noah looked out over the land, grateful for life and a second chance. They rebuilt their lives, constructing homes and starting a new chapter. Every time the rainbow appeared, they remembered God's promise. They prayed with gratitude, reminding each other of God's boundless love. The olive branch symbolized that from ashes, there is always hope. Even the birds began building nests, recreating a new life. With unity, they worked together to build a better world. He passed the story to his descendants, as a reminder of faith and loyalty. The next generation grew up with love and lessons from their ancestors. The olive tree grew tall, a symbol of peace and resilience. Noah continued to pray, knowing that everything happened according to God's plan. Nature thrived with vitality and peace. Around the campfire, they shared the story of the Great Flood and its profound lessons. The rainbow always reminded them that God kept His promise. The new generation kept building, planting seeds of faith and hope. The waters kept flowing, refreshing every place they touched. All creatures lived in harmony, reminding us that God created everything with purpose. Noah guided the next generation, teaching them that faith is the key to every challenge. They worked together, building a brighter future. Under the stars, they felt the peace of God's presence. Their garden flourished, a symbol of rebirth and care. The olive branch became a legacy, passed down through generations. The trees were not just life, but symbols of shelter and hope. Faith in God continued to spread through generations, strong and enduring. Everything on this land was a reminder that God always keeps His promises. They looked forward, where a hopeful future awaited. The dove was a symbol of peace, a reminder of God's love. God's covenant was not just for Noah, but for all of us. From destruction, life had reborn, stronger than ever. They lived with gratitude, always trusting in God's love. Faith not only guided, but gave strength to overcome every challenge. And like the birds, we are called to move forward. This world, under God's hand, can always begin anew. They understood that even in adversity, God always has a beautiful plan. The sunlight was a reminder that after every darkness, there is light. Life on earth thrived, full of vitality thanks to God's grace. Faith and loyalty are eternal lessons we can learn from Noah. The new generation continued to tell the story, passing on faith and hope. The rainbow in the sky is a sign that even in darkness, God's light remains. Remember, Noah's faith carried him through every challenge. The olive branch reminds us that hope is never lost. Family love and unity helped them overcome all difficulties. Noah's story proves that after every trial, there is a new beginning. The river carries life, a reminder that God always leads the way. We are reminded that faith is humanity's greatest strength. The Bible is an inspiration, guiding us through every storm. Their new life was not just a beginning, but a testimony of God's faithfulness. All living things thrived under God's care. The dove reminds us that no matter how far we go, we always have a home to return to. Let faith be the light that guides your path in every situation. The new generation carried hope, continuing God's covenant. The land was full of life, and people started anew with gratitude. Noah smiled, knowing his story would live on through generations. God's covenant is a reminder of love and redemption for all of us. The rainbow in the sky is proof that God's love is eternal. And as the sun set, this story reminds us that every beginning is in God's hands. From the great flood, a new world was born, filled with life and hope. The golden fields of wheat are a testament to God's grace and restoration. Noah's family continued to live with deep gratitude and unwavering faith. The next generation carried hope, continuing the covenant with God. The old tree stood tall, a testament that life had triumphed. The dove, a symbol of peace, reminds us that God is always with us. The olive branch is not just a symbol, but a promise of a better future. Noah's loyalty and faith are lessons we must always remember. God's covenant was not just for Noah, but for all of us. The flame never went out, symbolizing strong faith in the hearts of men. Gratitude and faith were what carried them through the trials. A peaceful life is the reward for those who place their full trust in God. Noah knew that everything was part of God's grand plan. The clear skies remind us that there's always light after the darkness. Rebirth is a testament to God's love and redemption. The younger generation carried faith forward, bearing the message of hope and peace. They praised God, giving thanks for a new world full of opportunity and love. The rainbow is a reminder that God's love is eternal. They understood that through faith, they were given a chance to start anew. This is not just Noah's story, but a story for all of us. The Bible teaches us that with God, nothing is impossible. Let Noah's story remind us of the power of faith. And as the sun sets, we know that each day is a gift from God. They prayed, knowing that God was always with them every step of the way. The flame of faith never fades, lighting the path for those who believe in God. Nature blooms again, reminding us that God brings life and joy. Noah smiled, knowing his story would be passed down forever. The river kept flowing, carrying God's promise of a better world. The rainbow reminds us that God's love is always present. The new generation is living proof that life goes on under God's guidance. The great tree stands as a symbol of strength, loyalty, and enduring faith. This story is not just about the past, but a source of inspiration for the present. We are reminded that with faith, no mountain is impossible to climb. Like the doves, we are called to bring peace to the world. Even in darkness, the light of faith will always shine. The Bible is the living word, guiding us through every storm. The gentle stream reminds us that even in hardship, God continues to work in our lives. Love and family unity are precious gifts from God. Each flower is a reminder that God beautifies our lives with simple things. Seeds of faith need to be planted in our hearts to bear fruit. Noah's story reminds us that with God, all things are possible. The olive branch is not just a symbol of peace, but a promise of a brighter future. Prayer is the thread that connects us to God, no matter where we are. The rainbow is a reminder that every day is a new promise from God. God has given us a beautiful world to care for and preserve. Noah's life is a testament to the power of faith and loyalty. Always remember, God never forgets his promises. The olive tree stands firm through time, like our faith in God. The dove reminds us that there is always peace and hope, even in adversity. This river is a reminder that God always provides for our needs. Noah and his family knew that this was God's precious gift to them. The new dawn is a reminder that God always gives us the chance to start again. Life continued to flourish, bringing joy and prosperity. The joy of the new generation is proof of God's everlasting love. Nature revived, bringing hope for a future filled with peace. They always reminded themselves that God is the giver of all blessings. The flame of prayer never went out, symbolizing unwavering faith. Small steps on a long road, guided by love and hope. The olive branch in the dove's wings is a symbol of everlasting peace. God always provides us with what we need to sustain life. They shared their story, so the lessons of faith would be passed on forever. The path of faith is not always easy, but it always leads to light. Noah's story inspired others, reminding them that every beginning is guided by God. Nature is a living testament that God never abandons his creation. These values are the light that guides us through every challenge. The next generation carried on the faith, spreading God's love. And so, a new chapter of humanity began, under God's guidance. Hymns are prayers, thanking God for all the good He has given. Noah's story reminds us that with God, there is always salvation. Let this story live on, inspiring each of us to live with faith. And that rainbow reminds us that God's love is eternal. Noah's story ends, but its lessons live forever in our hearts. Have you ever wondered what life was really like before the Great Flood? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to learn more about other miraculous stories from the Bible, don't forget to click on the next video we've suggested here. Hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming content. Thank you for joining us. See you in the next video. Have a blessed day.